The sound of applause still rang in Amara's ears long after the wedding was over. The church, the laughter, the music, all of it had been a blur. But the image she could not erase was Daniel kissing her sister. Not the act itself, after all. It was part of the plan. But the look in his eyes when he did it. Tender, convincing, almost too convincing. Amara reminded herself that it was an act, the greatest performance of his life. Yet, as the newlyweds drove away in their flower-draped car, Amara felt an unfamiliar chill creep through her chest. For the first time since their plot began, she wondered, what if Daniel wasn't acting anymore? The reception was a dazzling affair. Music filled the hall. Tables groaned under the weight of food, and relatives danced with abandon. Amara sat at the head table beside the bride, her glass of champagne untouched. Everywhere she looked, Daniel and Chika were the center of attention. Guests toasted their union. Women sighed over their perfect love story, and men clapped Daniel on the back as if he were a hero. They are such a beautiful couple, Auntie Former gushed, her eyes misty. You can see it in their eyes, the way he looks at her. That kind of love can't be faked. Amara's smile froze. She gripped her glass tightly, her knuckles whitening. Oh, it can't be faked. It has to be faked. But as she glanced at Daniel, laughing easily with Chika, holding her hand with casual intimacy, a single poisonous thought rooted itself in Amara's mind. What if it isn't? Later that evening, when guests began to leave, Daniel stood a moment with Amara in the shadows of the courtyard. You're pale, he murmured, brushing his thumb across her cheek. She snapped, her voice low and bitter, while she replied him saying, because I had to watch you kiss her 100 times today. Daniel smirked, and here you are, still the one I'm meeting when no one's looking. Doesn't that tell you where my loyalty lies? Amara searched his eyes, desperate for reassurance. Then prove it, she whispered. Prove she means nothing. But before Daniel could answer, Chika appeared in the doorway, calling for him. He straightened immediately, his face slipping back into the marks of the perfect husband. He walked away without looking back, leaving Amara trembling in the dark. The next morning, the newlyweds left for their honeymoon. Chika hugged Amara tightly before stepping into the car. Don't miss me too much, she teased, her smile radiant. Amara forced a laugh. Just enjoy yourself, you deserve it, she replied. As the car pulled away, Amara's chest constricted. She wanted to scream, to claw at the illusion until it shattered. Instead, she stood silently, watching the vehicle vanish down the street. For the first time, she realized how dangerous her plan truly was. She had handed her sister over to Daniel, trusted him to play his role perfectly. But what if in the process, she had lost control of him entirely? Chika called home every day during their trip. Her voice was filled with laughter, her stories bubbling with joy. Daniel is amazing, she gushed one evening, her voice carrying through the family living room. As Amara listened from the stairs, he planned a surprise dinner on the beach, candles everywhere, just like in the movies. I've never felt so loved. Their mother's eyes shone with tears. God truly blessed you with this man, their mother said. Amara dug her nails into her palms until crescent-shaped mark appeared. She wanted to scream into the phone. He's not your blessing, Chika. He's mine. He's mine. Instead, she stayed silent, her envy festering deeper with each passing word. 2 weeks later, when Chika and Daniel returned, they were the very picture of a honeymoon couple. Chika glowed, her laughter filling every corner of the house. Daniel carried their bags inside, smiling warmly, shaking hands with relatives who had come to welcome them home. Amara stood in the doorway, her heart pounding. Daniel's eyes flickered to hers for the briefest of moments. But in that glance, she saw something that made her blood more cold. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't secrecy. It was ownership. Daniel no longer looked like a man playing a role. He looked like a man who had claimed his prize and had no intention of letting go. And in that instant, Amara understood the most terrifying truth of all. The plan to destroy her sister had worked perfectly. But the cost was higher than she ever imagined, because now she wasn't sure who Daniel truly belonged to. The honeymoon glow lingered long after Daniel and Chika returned home. The neighbors whispered admiringly whenever they passed, the women swimming over Daniel's charm, the men joking about how Chika had caught the good one. Their parents basked in pride, constantly telling stories of how Daniel treated Chika like a queen. And through it all, Amara smiled. She smiled when her mother bragged about Chika's perfect marriage. She smiled when her father prayed loudly that God would continue to bless the couple. She even smiled when Chika, in her naive happiness, leaned against Daniel's shoulder at dinner, her voice carrying across the room as she said, "I still can't believe I'm this lucky." But behind that smile, Amara's envy was eating her alive, because she had believed foolishly that Daniel would never let the line blow. But he would always remember the pact, always know who had pulled the string. Yet, every passing day seemed to erase her importance in his eyes. One night, about a week after their return, Amara cornered Daniel in the kitchen. The house was quiet, their parents asleep, Chika upstairs preparing for bed. Daniel was rinsing a glass when Amara grabbed his arm, pulling him into the shadows near the pantry. You're too convincing," she hissed. He raised a brow, unbothered. "Convincing is the point, isn't it? Or have you forgotten why we started this?" "I haven't forgotten," she spat. "But don't think I don't notice the way you look at her." Daniel smirked, leaning closer. "The way I look at her? You mean the way a husband is supposed to look at his wife? That's called acting, Amara, and I'm damn good at it." Her breath caught as his sleeves brushed her ears. "But don't mistake my performance for betrayal. You're still the one who owns my secrets." The words should have reassured her, but they didn't, because his tone, smooth, casual, dismissive, carried the weight of someone who was no longer afraid. He kissed her quickly, a whisper of lips against hers, then stepped back just as Chika's footsteps descended the stairs. By the time Chika entered the kitchen, Daniel was at the sink again, smiling at his wife as though nothing had happened, and Amara was left trembling in the shadows, realizing something terrifying. Daniel wasn't just playing the role of the perfect husband, he was enjoying it. Over the following weeks, Amara became obsessed with observing them. Every shared laugh, every affectionate glance, every lingering touch between Daniel and Chika was a dagger to her chest. She had created this nightmare. She had offered her sister's happiness on a silver platter, all in the name of revenge. Yet now, she couldn't shake the feeling that Daniel had taken the platter for himself and forgotten who had handed it to him. She tried to remind him in subtle ways, a touch too long when passing him a dish, a secret glance across the dinner table, a brush of her hand against his when no one was watching. But Daniel's response were inconsistent. Sometimes he would smirk, his eyes glinting with the dangerous intimacy of their secrets. Other times he would simply ignore her, as if she were invisible. And that, more than anything, drove Amara mad. Chika, oblivious to the storm brewing around her, thrived in her new life. She spoke constantly about Daniel's kindness, about how he surprised her with breakfast in bed, how he listened to her dreams late into the night, how he seemed to know her better than she knew herself. One afternoon, as the sisters walked to the market, Chika clasped Amara's hand suddenly. "Sometimes I think God gave me Daniel just to make up for everything," Chika said softly. Amara stiffened. "Make up for what?" Chika hesitated. "For the way people always compared us. We know how it was. People said I was prettier, smarter. But Daniel makes me feel like I don't have to prove anything. Like I'm loved simply for being me." The words cut deeper than Chika realized, because what she thought was comfort felt to Amara like a blade twisted in the wound of her lifelong resentment. She wanted to scream, "He's not yours, Chika. He was mine first. Mine." But instead, Amara forced a smile, squeezing her sister's hand. "I'm happy for you," she lied. One night, unable to bear the silence, Amara slipped into Daniel's study. He sat at the desk, writing in a letter-bound notebook. He didn't look surprised to see her. "You shouldn't be here," he murmured. "Why?" she demanded. "Afraid your wife will catch us?" He set the pen down, his gaze cool. "Afraid you ruin everything. You wanted her life destroyed." Amara, and look at her, completely blind, completely in love. Isn't that what we wanted? Amara's voice shook. "No. I wanted her destroyed, not worshipped. She's happier than ever, Daniel. Don't you see it? You're giving her the very life I wanted to take away." For the first time, Daniel's smile faltered. He leaned back, studying her. "Maybe you don't understand how destruction works. Sometimes it isn't fire and ashes. Sometimes it's slow. You build someone so high, so confident, so blind with joy, that when you finally tear it down, the fall breaks them completely." The words chilled her to the bone. Daniel leaned closer. "Be patient, Amara. Let her fall from the highest heights." But patience wasn't Amara's strength. Each day, she watched Daniel slip further into the role of doting husband. And each night, she lay awake wondering if he truly intended to destroy Chika. The paranoia began to consume her. She started noticing details she couldn't ignore. The way Daniel looked genuinely proud when Chika entered the room. The way he touched her back protectively when they crossed the street. The way his laughter, once cruel and sharp, softened when Chika was the cause. These weren't the signs of a man pretending. They were the signs of a man who was falling in love. And that realization terrified Amara more than anything. One evening, Amara found herself pacing the garden, waiting for Daniel. She had sent him a message. "Urgent, meet me outside." When he finally arrived, his expression was more irritated than concerned. "What is it now?" he asked. Amara grabbed his arm, her nails digging into his skin. "Tell me the truth. Do you love her?" Daniel blinked, then laughed, a low, dangerous sound. "Is that what this is about? Jealousy? You wanted revenge, Amara, but now you want me to stay your puppet." Her eyes filled with tears. You promised me. You promised me we were in this together. And we are, he said smoothly, though his eyes gleamed with something darker. But don't confuse Rose. You set the plan in motion, but I'm the one living it. And maybe, he leaned close, his breath hot against her ear. Maybe I like it more than I expected. Amara staggered back, shaking her head. No, you can't. She's not supposed to have you. Daniel's smile was cold, cruel. Maybe she doesn't have me. Maybe I have both of you. Amara stood frozen, the night air pressing against her skin like ice. It was in that moment she understood the full extent of her mistake. She had thought she was manipulating Daniel, using him as a weapon to destroy her sister. But Daniel had never been a weapon. He was a predator. And now, both she and her sister were prey. As Daniel walked back towards the house, slipping easily into the glow of the porch light, where Chika awaited him, Amara's chest constricted with dread, because she finally saw the truth. She had been too blind to admit it. She had unleashed something far more dangerous than jealousy. She had unleashed Daniel, and he was no longer under anyone's control. The night after Daniel's chilling words, Amara couldn't sleep. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind replaying his voice. Maybe I have both of you. The words coiled around her like snakes, suffocating, hissing. It was no longer about jealousy. It was about survival. Because if Daniel truly had both of them under his control, then neither she nor Chika was safe. Amara started watching Daniel more closely. This time, not through the lens of jealousy, but through the cold eyes of suspicion. She noticed the way he sometimes slipped out at odd hours, claiming to have business meetings. She noticed how he always kept his phone close, never allowing Chika or anyone to glimpse his screen. One evening, when he left his jacket hanging carelessly on a chair, Amara searched the pockets. She found nothing but a folded receipt from an upscale restaurant, dated 2 nights prior. A night he had told Chika he was working late. Her stomach twisted. Who had he been with? Amara knew she couldn't confront him directly. Not yet. He thrived on her desperation. If she showed her hand too soon, he would crush her. So she began planting seeds of doubt in Chika's mind. Daniel worked so hard, she would say casually over tea. Sometimes too hard, don't you think? You must get lonely. Or, strange how he always steps outside to take calls. My friend's husband does that too. She later found out he was hiding things. Chika, ever trusting, always laughed it off. You worry too much, Amara. Daniel has nothing to hide. But Amara noticed the slight flicker in her sister's eyes, the hesitation before she smiled. The seeds were taking roots. One afternoon, Amara decided to follow Daniel. He had left the house under the pretense of a meeting, and she trailed him discreetly, her heart hammering. He didn't go to an office. Instead, he drove to a hotel on the outskirts of town. Amara parked a safe distance away and watched as he entered the lobby. Minutes ticked by. Her palms sweated against the steering wheel. And then, Daniel emerged again, not alone. A tall woman in a red dress walked beside him, her hand brushing his arm. They laughed together, intimately, before Daniel handed her something small, a key, perhaps, or money. Amara's stomach churned. She had her answer. Daniel wasn't just betraying Chika. He was playing his own game entirely. That night, When Daniel returned home, Amara waited for him in the garden. He didn't look surprised to see her. "You followed me," he said flatly. Amara froze. "What are you talking about?" Daniel chuckled darkly. "You think I didn't notice? Amateur. If you're going to spy, at least do it properly." Her chest tightened. Who was she? Daniel stepped closer, his smile sharp as a blade. "That's none of your concern." "She's my concern if you're betraying the plan," Amara snapped. He tilted his head, eyes glinting. "Plan? Oh, Amara, do you still think this is your game? That I'm your soldier, marching under your orders?" Her throat went dry. Daniel leaned close, his breath warm against her cheek. "I told you before, I own both of you. Don't test how far I'm willing to prove it." From that moment, Amara spiraled. She could no longer tell what was real and what was manipulation. Was Daniel truly having an affair with the woman on red? Or had he staged the scene, knowing Amara would follow? Was he loyal to Chika? Was he still bound to Amara by their secret? Her world tilted on unstable ground, and she found herself second-guessing every word, every look, every gesture. One night, she woke to faint laughter drifting from Chika's room. She crept to the door, her ear pressed against it, and heard the unmistakable sound of her sister's joy, muffled giggles, the rustle of sheets, Daniel's deep voice. Amara pressed her hands to her ears, tears burning her eyes. She had wanted Chika's happiness destroyed. Instead, she had created a kingdom where Chika was queen, and Amara was the ghost haunting its walls. Then one afternoon, Amara stumbled upon something that nearly stopped her heart. Chika had left her handbag open on the couch, and inside was a folded envelope. Amara recognized Daniel's handwriting on the outside. Hands trembling, she pulled it out and unfolded it. "My beloved," the letter began. "Every day with you makes me forget the world outside. You're my anchor, my reason. Sometimes I fear I don't deserve the purity of your heart, but I swear to protect it with my life. You must never doubt that you are everything to me." The words blurred before Amara's eyes. This wasn't an act. This wasn't part of their twisted pact. Daniel wasn't pretending anymore. He loved Chika. Truly, deeply, dangerously. Amara confronted him again that night, shoving the letter into his chest. "What is this? Tell me it's fake. Tell me you wrote it for the plan." Daniel glanced at the letter, then back at her. His silence was more damning than words. "You promised me," Amara screamed, her voice cracking. "You promised she would fall, that they would all see her suffer." Daniel's gaze darkened, his tone soft but leather. "And you promised me control. Do you remember, Amara? You wanted destruction, I wanted power. You gave me exactly what I needed." Her breath came in shallow gaps. "You're in love with her." A slow, sinister smile spread across his face. "Maybe, or maybe I just enjoy watching you unravel." For the first time since their pact, Amara felt true fear. Not of her sister, but of the man she had invited into their lives. She realized something with bone deep certainty. If she didn't act soon, she would lose everything. Not just her parents' affection, not just her chance at revenge. She would lose herself. So she began to plot. Not against Chika this time, but against Daniel. Late at night, she scribbled notes, weighed possibilities. Should she expose him, blackmail him, eliminate him entirely? Her mind became a storm of schemes, each one darker than the last. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that Daniel was always 2 steps ahead. One evening, as Amara sat in her room, drafting yet another plan, a soft knock came at her door. She opened it to find Chika, her face pale, her hands trembling. "Amara," Chika whispered, "we need to talk. I found something." Amara's heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" Chika's eyes filled with tears as she held out her phone. The screen displayed a string of messages. Private, intimate, damning. Between Daniel and Amara. Her blood ran cold. "I don't understand," Chika choked. "Why would Daniel be writing to you like this? Why would he call you his secret?" Amara's world shattered in a single heartbeat. Because the one thing she had never expected, the one card she thought Daniel would never play, was the exposure of their forbidden bond. And now, with a single revelation, Daniel had turned sister against sister. He hadn't chosen Chika, he hadn't chosen Amara, he had chosen chaos. The room felt like it was closing in on Amara. Her lungs seized, her throat dried, her heartbeat thundered against her ribs as Chika stood before her, clutching the phone like a weapon. The screen still glowed between them. Her own words, Daniel's replies, the digital trail of a secret she had believed would remain buried forever. "You're mine, Amara. Don't forget who started this game. I'll marry her, but you'll always be the one who knows the truth." The damning evidence was undeniable. Amara's lips parted, but no sound came out. Chika's tear-streaked face blurred before her. "Tell me it's not true," Chika whispered, her voice breaking. "Tell me you didn't, you couldn't." Amara reached for her sister, desperation clawing at her chest. "Chika, please, you don't understand. It's not what it looks like." But Chika jerked away, eyes flashing with hurt and betrayal. "Not what it looks like? These are your words, Amara. You've been lying to me, lying to all of us." Amara's legs weakened. "I only wanted..." Chika spat, her voice trembling. "You wanted what? To destroy me? To watch me suffer? Why? What did I ever do to you?" The question sliced through Amara's defenses like knives. She had no answer that could suit, no excuse that wouldn't sound hollow. Chika's tears hardened into fury. "You were supposed to be my sister, my blood, and all this time you've been..." She choked, unable to finish. The silence that followed was worse than any accusation. The door creaked, and Daniel stepped inside. His expression carefully crafted, concern etched into every line, like an actor stepping onto stage at the perfect cue. "What's going on?" he asked, his gaze sweeping over the sisters. His voice was soft, sympathetic. To Chika, he looked like the perfect husband caught in a storm. To Amara, he was the puppeteer, tugging invisible strings. Chika turned to him, anguish spilling out. "Daniel, tell me it's not true. Tell me you didn't, that you and Amara, that this isn't real." Daniel's pause was masterful, just long enough to twist the knife, not long enough to expose his hand. He glanced at Amara, his eyes locking with hers, a glint of victory flickering like a spark. Then with a weary sigh, he spoke. "Chika, I need you to understand. It wasn't what it seemed." Amara's stomach dropped. He was about to rewrite the story, and she was powerless to stop him. Daniel walked towards Chika, his voice steady, his hand reaching for hers. "Yes, Amara and we had contact, but it wasn't an affair, it was manipulation." Chika blinked in confusion. "Manipulation?" Daniel nodded gravely. "Amara, she wasn't herself. She was bitter, angry, convinced that your parents loved you more than her. She came to me with a plan, a dangerous, destructive plan. She wanted me to hurt you, Chika, to ruin you. I tried to stop her, but he cast Amara a solo glance. She pulled me in. Amara's jaw unhinged. That's a lie, she screamed. Her voice raw. You were part of it from the beginning. You wanted this as much as I did. But the damage was done. Chika's face crumpled with horror as she looked back and forth between them. You planned this? Both of you? No, Amara cried, her voice cracking. It wasn't like that. He's twisting everything. But Daniel's calm, measured tone outshone her desperate shrieks. I really wanted to protect you, he said softly, his tongue brushing away one of Chika's tears. I should have cut off every interaction with Amara. That's my mistake. But I swear to you, my love, you're the only woman I want, the only one I've ever loved. Amara's nails dug into her palms until her skin burned. His performance was flawless. He wasn't just saving himself, he was condemning her. Chika pulled away from him, staggering towards the door. I need to think. I can't. She fled the room, her sobs echoing down the hallway. The door slammed, leaving Amara and Daniel alone in the suffocating silence. Amara turned on him, fury blazing through her. You bastard. You set me up. Daniel smirked, his composure now stripped of its facade. Of course I did. Did you really think you could control me? That I'll play your little game forever? Her voice cracked. You love her. That letter, the way you look at her. You love her. Daniel stepped closer, his smile cold. Maybe I do, or maybe I just love watching you lose everything. Either way, Amara, the result is the same. You're finished. In the days that followed, Amara became a ghost in her own home. Chika avoided her, her once trusting eyes now shadowed with suspicion and pain. Their parents, sensing tension but not knowing the truth, sided unconsciously with Chika, comforting her, fussing over her. Daniel, meanwhile, flourished. He was attentive, devoted, the perfect husband. To outsiders, he looked like the anchor holding the family together. To Amara, he was the puppeteer, tightening her noose. Every time their eyes met across the room, his smirk reminded her, I won. One night, unable to bear the weight of the silence any longer, Amara cornered Chika in the kitchen. Chika, please listen to me, she begged, her voice hoarse. Daniel is not who you think he is. He's dangerous. He's playing us both. Chika's hands trembled as she set down a glass. I don't know what to believe anymore. But I know this, Amara. You betrayed me. You, my own sister. Even if Daniel is guilty too. You were supposed to protect me. Her words crushed Amara more than Daniel's manipulations ever could. Tears blurred her vision. I only wanted them to see me, to love me as much as they love you. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Chika shook her head, her expression a mix of sorrow and rage. And now, we've both lost everything. The following weekend, their parents hosted a family dinner. Relatives gathered. Laughter filled the air, but beneath the surface, tension burned like acid. At the table, Daniel raised his glass and spoke with practiced charm. I just want to say how grateful I am to be part of this family. Chika is the light of my life. She makes me better every day. Applause, cheers, smiles. Then his eyes flicked towards Amara, lingering just long enough for her to feel the blade twist in her gut. In that moment, Amara understood. He wasn't just winning Chika's heart, he was erasing Amara from the family entirely, painting her as the bitter, jealous shadow. She wasn't the sister anymore. She was the villain in Daniel's story. That night, Amara stood alone in her room, staring at her reflection. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow. She barely recognized herself. The plan she had bettered in envy had become a monster that devoured her whole. Daniel had turned her against her sister. He had stolen her secrets, her family's trust, her very identity. And yet, deep inside her, a new flame flickered. Not jealousy, not despair, but vengeance. Because if Daniel thought she was finished, he was wrong. She might have lost this battle, but the war was only beginning. And this time, she would not fight with secrets or whispers. She would fight with fire.